Welcome to Daddy's Podcast, January 28th, 2023. I got one of the realest right next to me. So much I can say about this man right here. Such a stand-up father, leader, president of 40 Strong. I want to thank you for standing up, man. Ramon Thames. Let's do it right while we playing. You know what I mean? You stepping in and you leading something great to support one of our brothers out here. We represent South Side of Chicago, Wild, 103rd Street, 10th Trade, to keep it 100% real. This man named, I'm just gonna use his name, Jabo. That's who I got sitting next to me, sharing this day with me, man. I want to thank you for coming to rock with me this day, man. It's a hard day for me, but I'm feeling good today, bro. It's much different from last year. It's much different from just New Year's Eve, man. I had a terrible New Year's Eve, and I decided to do something different and move, and that's how this idea was born after that night, and you was a witness. There's very few things that you don't know about me. We always been right next to one another. So without further ado, I have Jabo next to me, but I'm going to let Jabo explain how we met one another. Jabo, through your eyes, talk to the world.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. There's nowhere else I would be but next to my brother, especially on a day like this. We celebrating the life of my nephew. It's tough times. We've been through a lot before this, and we'll get through this just like we got through everything else we done been through, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Amen. So I'm glad it's a good day.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? That's the number one thing, that you're having a good day today. That makes me feel, that eases my heart as well, man, because when you hurt, I hurt, bro.
My man, so, appreciate that.
But I'm Stephen Bolton. They call me Jabo. That's my nickname. We say that for another podcast. But how do I know?
He'll be back. Just on accident, he'll be back.
So how do I know Greg, or as I call him, G-Ride? We go back to grammar school. We started off in Miss Gilbert room.
Miss Gilbert, Marcus Garvey.
Kindergarten, Marcus Garvey, on 103rd and Morgan. We got 50 years, so I don't know, how old are you when you go to kindergarten?
Yeah, we was
five,
so that's 45.
So we got 45 years in the game together. So like he said, it's not too many experiences that he or I have had that we weren't either there or we got firsthand knowledge of. Unfortunately, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the pretty.
That's what make a friendship, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been through the dirt, as they say, got it out the mud, all the little terms or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And we definitely, we done been raised and cultivated out of the same dirt, I say that. But this is my bro. I love him. I've been around him, like I say, my whole life, and I can't think of a phase in my life where we wasn't side by side, So kindergarten, first grade, I didn't go to high school with these guys. I went to Morgan Park, so, I got love for my Jaguars. But I'm a Mustang, baby.
All right. Morgan Park.
I got to represent my Morgan Park Mustangs. But, yeah, man, so this is my brother right here, man. So this is just family. And it's just two brothers having a conversation today, man.
Here we go. And just even on top of that, isn't it odd, bro, that we became grown men and lived on the same block? We can walk down the street to each other's house. Our kids, my sons, your daughters, they built a relationship just from running up and down the street on 147th in Princeton, man. Ain't that odd, bro?
Yeah, that was odd.
What's the odds,
we ended up living on the same block in our 20s, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Out there in Dalton.
A lot of stories out there.
Yeah.
If the walls can talk.
Yeah. We're going to shut them walls.
Oh, my God. Ooh, that's a whole nother one right there. We did some things.
Again, that's a podcast right there, too.
Yeah, man.
Remember the Dobbs hats?
Yeah. Man,
the basement parties.
I remember, man, just learning the game of the Dobbs hats. I remember I had on a wool Dobbs hat in the summertime, You know what I'm saying? Not knowing there's two different Dobbs I could wear. I just knew I had me a Dobbs, so I'm out here. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, you remember the Sandpipers, man. I remember being, we were in our 20s, maybe like 22, 23. And this one, Twan was kicking it with us.
Shout out. Man, come on, man. We Yeah, shout out to man.
Antoine, our brother Twan,
that's
man.
our man.
Much
Ready
love
for
to
you
our
come
brother.
home, man. Love you, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Free Antoine, man. You know, I remember, speaking of the Dobbs, I remember being in the Sandpipers, and same thing happened to me. I'm in there, and Twine had a winter's Dobbs and a summer's Dobbs, and this is probably like January. So he got the winter Dobbs on, but I can't go without a Dobbs. So I'm in there with a straw hat on, straw Dobbs on in the dead of the winter.
Yeah.
And I never forget Brian Scott.
Okay.
Scholar Rock, he come up to me, he pulled me to the side. He said, young player, let me holler at you. You know how Brian used to hop, he bouncing when he talk. Yeah. Hey, Mello, you ain't supposed to wear them at the, you ain't supposed to wear those straw hats, man, at the Labor Day, baby. You know, so, but you know, that was just us being young cats, man, growing up and learning etiquette.
And just what you said, it was another man that taught you etiquette. You know what I'm saying? It was that. And, man, that's probably going to lead me into your next story. You just sending out a shot to Brian Scott. Shout out to Brian.
Scholar Rock had them all.
You know it, Boo Lou, little brother. You know it. For this platform, man, of my son, man, one of the things I like to do is show the world that black fathers are in their kids' lives. You know, we love hard, we cry hard, we try our best to raise our kids within, like I always say, like, I love where I grew up, bro, but I didn't make it out of the neighborhood because of the resources that the Wild Hunters gave me. I feel like I made it out of the neighborhood in spite of all the shit they threw in my face to over fucking come, you know what I'm saying? So when you mention like the older G's like Brian, you know, just telling you little things about what hats to wear, you know what I'm saying? We had a lot of older cats we looked up to that was, you know, selling drugs, pimping, you know, doing all this other thing, but we also had brothers in here that, you know, that tell us something, even though it was the streets of hard knocks, they taught us how to survive those streets. So we have a chance to get out here and survive in America. Because to me, we wasn't even in America. We was in this thing, you know what I'm saying, that we had to make it out of to be in America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So shouts out to all the older guys in the neighborhood that helped people like myself and Jabo get up out of that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We had a lot of big brothers, man. We had a lot of mentors, you know, by default. Some of them might not even been conscious of how they were imprinting on us, you know. So, yeah, you're right, man. You know, I think about all the different people that poured into us. You know, earlier in the podcast, I forget who it was they mentioned. I want to say it was Chanel. She mentioned the village.
Yeah.
You know, that's real, man. You know, and I think that sense of village is something that is in jeopardy in the black community. You know what I'm saying? Especially in most neighborhoods. I don't see it at the same level. And I put a little criticism on our generation. You know what I'm saying? I don't think
Let's keep it real.
I don't think we have stepped into that role the same way that those roles were stepped into for us. You know, that's just me being a little critical of myself. Although I can speak to people, but not on the same level that it was for us. You know, I remember being in the neighborhoods. I don't feel like I'm present in the neighborhood the way Brick was president. You know, Kim Dozier, shout out Kim Dozier.
Yeah, big bro.
The
Brick.
Billy Dozier, you know, those were my neighbors. You know, I'm sure he got neighbors that was on his block that was guys that he, you know, and you get different things from different guys. You know,
102nd and Main Street, definitely sent out to the brothers on 102nd and Main Street.
Exactly.
You know, I had them to look up to, Tony McKeever, Dwayne, Bernie, Chip, I can go on and on.
Exactly.
Vincent, you know, they were there.
You know, so you learn different things, you know what I'm saying? You learn, you know, confidence, swagger, you know, how to fix things, you know, those are the impressions that were made, you know. So sometimes I question myself, have I contributed the same way those guys contributed to me? So, you know, that's just a self-criticism.
Yeah, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
That's something else we can go into, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Because I really loved that neighborhood that we grew up in 103rd, but after going away to college and coming back, living in the suburbs for a while, to me, much respect, it didn't hold the property value that I think it should have held. I don't think enough resources was poured into the south side of Chicago. I think they just kind of letting it go. You know, I'm looking at it like, no, you know, it's a lot of empty houses, a lot of empty lots, you know, and that neighborhood was very, very vibrant. It was businesses everywhere to me.
Yeah, I think our neighborhood is still pretty stable in comparison to other neighborhoods.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Talk to me, yeah.
The grass is still cut.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You still got, we don't have 100 abandoned houses. You know what I mean?
But we got too many.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely more than when we lived there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm even thinking about buying a house in the old neighborhood.
Man, that's excellent. That is so excellent, bro.
I would still consider living in that neighborhood and wouldn't have a problem being there personally. So, I feel like it's still a vibrant, safe enough neighborhood. Safe enough, keyword.
But you see, I'm still in the trenches, and
Exactly.
Hey, this is. I know this. This is how I know how to move. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm in a safe enough area because I know how to manipulate.
Well, I still feel like that's my neighborhood. That's my community over there.
Okay.
And for anybody that don't know, we talking about that neighborhood around Julian High School, 103rd, 99th, pretty much hosted to Racine. Shout out to the neighborhood. Shout out to the neighborhood. I can't think of the neighborhood picnic that they throw every year with the mayor, Vic, and all them guys. Another one, Vic Cox, another one of our big bros,
Niecy, Tiffany. Yeah. But back to the question, man. Let's send that shouts out to that father figure that, I want you to say his name and let the world know, how beautiful he was for you.
Father figure for me, when I think about the men that made an impression on me, first and foremost, I got to give a shout out to my grandfather, Tom Coleman. That's the man that I saw be a husband, be a grandfather, be a father, be a neighbor. My grandfather, man, was a remarkable man. My grandfather was from Tennessee. I want to say Memphis, but I could be wrong about that. I know he's from Tennessee. Grandfather had limited education. He didn't know how to write, could barely read. His wife, my grandmother, Margaret Coleman, pretty much filled out his job applications. But my grandfather always made a living, and he contributed, and he could do anything. He could fix a car. He could damn near build a home. And I make my testimony based on the testimonies that were made about him to me. So those names I named earlier, Billy Dozier, Kim Dozier, them guys to this day I sit there and say, hey man, your grandfather showed me how to rewire a house. Your grandfather showed me how to work on a car without a jack. Your grandfather would loan me his tools. Half of the mechanical ingenuity that I have came from working with your grandfather. Mm-hmm. So, I saw a man that, was the type of man that contributed to his household and in a way and provided in a way that a man, I feel like is supposed to. So that was an example for me. So that's my number one. But then I have to give credit to my mom's husband, Credell. Credell he taught me a little bit more how to move in the streets. Credell had a street pedigree. So shout out Credell Irving. He's no longer with us.
Shouts out.
But that was my mom's husband. Credell was different, man. Credell wore butters with the curlers.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? Credell wore a side holster with a pistol. He ran gambling houses, owned lounges. You know what I'm saying? But he walked with respect. He wasn't a large man in stature, but he was large in his presence and his respect. So a lot of my demeanor, me wearing Dobbs hats and stuff like that, come from.
Got it. I see. Okay, I didn't know that.
You want to know what's crazy? I didn't know it until probably a few years ago when I was talking about him, and I realized how much of who he was. I am. You are.
Yeah, we turn into our parents, and that trips me out. Man, I find myself speaking the same words that my dad and my mom spoke. And back then, I was like, I can't do that. Why, Next thing I know, I'm telling my kids to say, hey, babe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's excellent. Yeah.
So, shout out Credell Irving, man. And then last week, I got to give out, my neighbors, man, them same names, man. The Doziers, man, they were my next door neighbors. Those were my big brothers. I learned a lot about manhood, about, how to do for yourself. I tell you a quick story about Kim Dozier.
Okay.
I remember when that house in Dalton.
Okay.
Me and my baby moms were there, and we bought this house, and the house had a problem with flooding.
Yep.
So we moved into
the house.
Mine did too. Yeah, we moved fresh into the house. I think in the first 30 days it rained, and the water came in and ruined the furnace and burnt out the circuit board.
Yep. How many houses were we down? About 8 houses apart?
Yeah, about 8 houses apart.
Same problem. Every time it rained, I'm like, oh my God, I got to clean the basement.
So I remember, Brick was my childhood neighbor. I'm a grown man in my 20s. We still have a connection like we still do today. So I don't remember exactly why, but I'm talking to Brick about it. I'm like, hey, man, it's the third time that the house has, the rain has come in. We got waterproofing company. I was telling them the whole process, and I was telling them how much I was paying each time that the heating AC person would come out and change the board, and how quick he was doing it. And it was costing me maybe $300-something. And I just don't forget, man. Brick listened to what I said. He say, "Stupid motherfucker. How many times you gonna watch the motherfucker change the shit out before you change it yourself?
Learn it." Learn it.
He said, "You standing right there watching the motherfucker change it out. You stupid motherfucker. How many times you gonna watch the motherfucker change it out in 10 minutes and keep paying them $300? And what I did was I ended up going to the heating. I got on Google, found a heating and AC place, found the circuit board, and literally Brick told me, he said, just take the board. It's a plug on that one. You take the plug off that one. You put it in the same spot on the new one, and then you take it and pop it back in. And I swear to God, that's exactly so.
Shouts out.
Those are the guys that help mold me and help give me manhood that they might not even be aware of.
Yeah.
So
Those
are some of the names, man. There's many more.
Yeah. But shout out Brick. I just want to throw in there. He changed my brakes for me. Back then I ain't have a lot of money. I barely had enough. Not that I have a lot of money now, but barely enough. We growing up, we learning.
Yeah, that one.
And I didn't want to go. To the car place to get it done. They go triple charge me. Man, I take it right to the alley. Brick, pop it up, change it for me. Go ahead, give me a couple of dollars.
Man, I can tell some stories about Brick that we shouldn't even be telling on TV.
Yeah.
Brick been there for us.
That's another one. That's another podcast. Yeah. Yes, sir. Shout out to those fathers. We just want the world to know that the fathers are out here. We're in the neighborhoods, we're in the homes, and we doing good by ours. We doing everything that we can, or maybe we can't be doing enough, but we are out here.
Hey, we get a bad rap. You know how it is.
Yeah.
There's a narrative that get pushed.
And we need to go on, talk on that, man. Talk on that.
Well, there's a narrative that black men aren't present. So I don't know the statistics. But from what I see, how can I say this without starting? I don't want to open up another can of worms, man. But
I need to start another podcast.
I'll say this, that black men often get pushed out of the homes for other reasons by our mates, not necessarily because we don't want to be there. So I just say dysfunction that happens in relationships. There's a lot of black fathers that are pushed out of the homes by their significant others for various reasons, justified or not. But I think that it makes it even more difficult to be present in your kid's life when you're dealing with those obstacles of a broken relationship.
Hey, do you remember a movie? It's an older movie. I think it was Diane Carroll. Was it Claudine or something like that? Nani,
Yeah.
And because of her public
James Earl
assistance,
Jones.
he had to move out the house so she could get this. The black man had to move out the house so she can get public assistance.
Well, what you're talking about is the whole systemic.
Yeah. So we can go
effects,
there.
And some people call it systemic racism, but there were things systemically that helped to remove the black man from the home. Because if you go back to, I'm not a historian, so hopefully I don't get my facts wrong. But I know that there's statistics that support that if you go back to, maybe in the early 60s or so, or if I'm not, forgive me if I'm getting my time periods wrong, where not only were black families together, black men and women were married at a rate of maybe over 85%.
Yeah. Yes, speak on it.
You know what I'm saying? So things like the welfare system, a lot of the systemic obstacles that were put in front of black men in the job market, and then the combination of the incarceration, where we were targeted incarceration. And when I say that, I mean where they target our communities and they over-police us. So now you have black men getting criminal records, which disqualify them for employment. So you had a multitude of things going on based on the movie you're talking about. They bring welfare. Okay, we're going to help the families, but in order for a woman to qualify for welfare, she can't have a man in the home. So now you remove the father from the home. At the same time, the father get caught with some weed, and now he got a felony or whatever, and he's got a record. So now he can't even qualify for the jobs that they don't want to give him anyway because he's black. So that pigeonholed us into a limited amount of opportunities where we had low-paying jobs like janitorial work, maintenance, things like that, and we weren't allowed to get the higher-paying jobs in the factories in the industry world, things like that. So that's like a whole nother conversation.
A whole nother podcast.
And,
we can talk
that
so many
eye.
other things, yeah.
I'm going to call that the third eye, being awake to be aware of that.
You're going to have to come back, man. We're going to have to, it's a lot we could talk about. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we had to unpack that, man.
Yeah.
I had to do a little, check my facts. I don't want to be on TV speaking unfactual. I want to, get a chance to
we
kind
can
of
prepare for that.
everything
We can have
out,
that one, yeah. Because that's a problem out here, and that need to be addressed.
If I say something, I want it to be on point. So.
Yeah, definitely. But next, man, I want to go to the January 28th, because, again, you was by my side. January 28th, how did you find out, about Lil Greg, and how was the rest of that day for you, bro?
Wow. Candace sent me a text message, let me know that Lil Greg had gotten shot and that you guys were on your way to Stroger Hospital.
Yeah.
So, of course, I stopped what I was doing and I headed up to the hospital, not having a lot of information. But I called and found out that he didn't make it. All I can say is, man, Greg, I done been around you, of course, all my life, your life. So, of course, I've been around Lil Greg all his life. So, that was like a nephew, man, for me, and it's a part of my family. And it's a part of you, ultimately as well. So, the pain was the first feeling, pain and being lost, a lost feeling, and lost for different reasons. Lost for not understanding why it's happening, not lost for not knowing how to help you, how to help his mom, lost with not knowing how to help, wanting to help and not being able to help. Yeah, a situation like that.
And a lot of us have been through that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I do?
And I want to admit something that I'm not proud of. Chicago has so much violence, so much death, so many young people died. There you get desensitized to it, and I'm guilty of being desensitized. But until it hits home is when you feel it. So, you look on the news, you see night after night after night after night after night, one situation after another.
Night after night after night after night. Did you hear what you just said?
Yeah.
And that's what we live, man.
That's Chicago.
I hear gunshots.
It goes to my next feeling. So after the loss and the hurt, the next feeling was anger. And what's the term the kids say? I was ready to crash out. So, and it's a pain. And I haven't cried like that, man, probably since my cousin passed. I think I told you that. We lost my cousin, Ken.
Shout out Lil Ken. That was our first, to me, devastating. Him and Boom Mike for me was like.
Yeah, I lost my cousin back in, 92?
Yeah, I had the obituary on my college wall.
1992, I lost my first cousin. He was a twin. Same thing, gun violence. That's the last time I cried that hard. And I don't know exactly why it resonated with me the same way as that, because I've lost my mom, I've lost my dad, I've lost people that meant I lost my grandmother, at 101. And not to compare the losses, but I'm just talking about the despair that I felt. I guess that's the best word. I felt the despair. Because when you lose a life that shouldn't be lost, it's different when, you lose your 101-year-old grandmother, But to have a young life lost like that and what it meant, and just me understanding what that means, man, a mother just lost their 25-year-old, 24-year-old son. And just knowing what that means, and then me being a father of 5 myself, and then you start imagining the loss being your loss. Besides my personal connection with me knowing this young man since he was in Pampers, You see what I'm saying? On top of that, you start identifying with it as a parent yourself, and it's just despair, man. It's a sadness, man, that that I still feel to this day, and that I don't wish on nobody, man. And I can't even imagine what it is, but I get a taste. I get a small enough sense of it for it to be real for me, Yeah. So,
man, thank you for sharing that, and I want to thank you for being at the hospital. Like when I came out the hospital after the doctor started giving me the speech, we tried everything, nothing we can do. I knew what the rest of it was. I just couldn't stand to hear it, and I walked out the hospital. I saw you and Newman right there, and I appreciate you being there, man. I still don't know what to say, dude. That was just a very lostful moment,
Well,
so I just want to thank you, bro.
It's nothing to thank me for, man. It's nowhere else I was gonna be, Something like that happened, man. This is when that village has to come together. Yeah. And you just do what's in your heart. You're not nothing you think about. It's not nothing, you say, oh, I'm gonna go do this or go do that. You just do what you feel. So being there with my brothers, man, y'all been there for me, man. You done been there for me at my darkest moment.
Another podcast.
Yeah. You done been there for me at one of my darkest moments. That's a whole nother one.
Oh, yeah, it's too many, bro.
So, you know what I mean? You just do what's in your heart, man.
Yes, sir.
What's in your heart, brother. So, and I was telling your brothers a little while ago when we were sitting in the back, he was saying how, Maurice was saying how he admires how tight we are, because it's more than me and him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a whole village, a whole brotherhood that we belong to. And
from grammar school, and we lucky to have each other. Yeah. We say it all the time, though. As we got older, we appreciate that.
Well, we aware of it the longer we live, and the more we observe other people.
Yeah.
That don't have it.
Shout out to Ramon.
Shout out to our brother Ramon, Big Hick Thames. We just lost a dear friend of ours, 40 Strong, one of our 40 Strong brothers. He definitely left an impact, man. I just been listening to some of the testimonies people been giving about Hick, man. Hick was the type of guy that would call me on my phone just to talk. And Hick might ask you still talking to a girl? How you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You love her?
Have a conversation with you.
Yeah. You talk about, how this and this happened. Well, how'd that make you feel, man? Yeah. Hick was that guy, you know what I'm saying? So Hick, man, he gonna definitely be missed, man. Yeah. I listened to so many people. Hick was our little brother, so his role as a protector wasn't as much for us as it was for so many others, but I definitely felt that big old dude's presence.
It was nice to have him next to you, wasn't it? You ain't gonna be too quick to run up today.
But it's 100 people talking about how much he was their protector. And, I talked to like Tremaine and different cats like that. Okay, like, man, he always had my back. So Hick, man, was definitely, man, cut from good stock, man, and he's gonna definitely be missed, man. We love our brother, man, and we're gonna keep your name alive too, big dog.
Yes, sir. Yam Street. Hick, Donnie, Trey, Pumpkin. Let's get it. Oh, man, thank you for that, brother, man. I want to ask you one more, man, before we wrap this up, brother. You was right there. I felt like the media only showed a certain part, of who Greg was. And I just like to share with the world, because there were so many other parts. They are part of Greg that that you feel like the world should know. I hope I said that right.
No, I get exactly what you're saying, man. Well, I don't want to say names, but of course we know his affiliations and his friends, and and you come from where you come from, man, and you're associated with who you're associated with, and your friends are your friends, and we definitely understand the value of friendship, because it's all we done talked about since we've been on this podcast. Yeah. So, but I'm more than Greg's friend. And Lil Greg was more than his friends. And I remember the young man. I remember the little boy that rode in the car with his dad, at age 2, age 3, age 4. Shit, hell, Pampers, man. And we raised our kids together, My phone had rang twice since I've been sitting here, Sierra. And I think
shout out
my daughter, you know, who definitely looked at Greg as a brother. And she's called me a couple times in here. She wanted to talk to you, but not knowing that you got a podcast going on, I couldn't come give you the phone.
Oh,
because
I'm saying of the day.
She knew she talked to me on my way coming into the house, and she wanted to call you and just give you some words of encouragement on today. But
CC,
I look at the young man, quiet demeanor. Always had a smile on his face as a young man. Very attentive. I remember a little guy that was athletic. I can remember one time we had both our sons together. And, I'm sorry, little Steph. You probably gonna like this story, but
little Steph, shout out.
I got a son that's probably I don't know. Steph is probably a year.
Oh, I got pictures of little Greg and little Steph together.
Yeah,
bro. Man. Yeah.
So were they 2 years apart? I think.
I think so.
I think they may be 2 years apart.
Chabo 2 years older, right?
Yes, Chabo is 29, so.
Yeah, so Greg would have been 27.
27, so our sons 2 years apart. But I remember we were at a park one time, man. They had to be probably like 4 and 6 or 5 and 7, something like that. They were young enough to where we had them on our necks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We were still walking around with them on our necks.
Yeah.
And we were near on the basketball court. And like I say, athletic. I remember Greg was younger and smaller than Steph, but he was able to shoot the ball from your shoulders and make the shot. And my son, I'm sorry, little Jai, he couldn't get the ball. He couldn't get it up to the rim. He didn't have the mechanics to get it to the rim. And I just remember thinking like, man, this little baby, because to me he was a baby, because that little 2 years make a difference when you talking about 4 and 6.
Big difference back then.
5 and 7, whatever the case. So it's a little small guy, little bitty arms. He was able not only get it to the rim, but he was able to make the shot. And I remember him just being that little athletic kid all the way up to teenage years when you were trying to get him out in the south suburbs and put him in. And I remember one of the last conversations I had with him, and it was, I used to mess with him. I mess with the kids all the time, And I do things that, I question their toughness, So I saw him, I think we might have been over here one day, and I don't remember exactly what the circumstances was, but I made a joke like he was going to let somebody whoop him. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, Greg, I'm going to have to get them niggas off you or something, man. Don't let them whoop you or nothing like that. And I remember he had a smile on his face initially, but when I said that, his smile just dropped off his face and he looked at me like,
straight up,
without saying a word, like, that ain't going to happen.
Yes,
and I remember realizing, like, my nephew a little man now. You know what I'm saying? And I always respected the way he took care of his kids, man. He was a present father. And that ain't no coincidence. The kids go by the examples that I set. And, all our kids are blessed to have examples in their lives, and I think.
Thanks, bro.
So many families, especially in our community, don't have that present mother and father. You need both your mom and your dad in order for you to be developed, in order for you to develop and for you to, reach your potential and have the strength and the tools. I always say that your child is born with an empty tool belt. And as you go through life, as they grow, as a parent, you add to that tool belt. You give them a hammer, you give them a screwdriver, you give them a drill when they get a little older, and that's what I look at. I look at the fact that your son's tool belt was full. You know what I'm saying? He had all of the tools that he needed to go into the next phase of his life. You know what I'm saying? So I salute you for that. And that's the young man that I remember, man, that transitioned on the 28th.
Yes, so I could definitely, and Jabo, man, it's like I saw all those tools. I saw him starting to use those tools in his tool belt, and I was so excited to see what it was going to turn into. And I was robbed of that, because I saw the turbulent times that we went through, but then I saw he started to understand the words that I was telling him. And I saw him start using complete sentences to answer questions. And he was asking questions about how to be successful in the future. And so it was a time where we made it through this rough time. He's 24. He's no longer acting like he's 18. And And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. I get to see the next phase, and then a second.
Yeah.
You know, all that was gone. But yeah, that tool belt, man, I was so happy that he had it and he was about to use it. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of my pain is, because I saw the matriculation about to pay off, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you feel robbed, man, as you should. You know, and that's what these type of situations do. They rob so many people. They rob you, they rob everybody that loves him, everybody he's responsible for. You know, and that's a bigger issue in our community, man. That I wish I had the answer to, man. I wish I knew exactly how to change it, how to fix it. I got a few ideas. You know, I don't know if they're the right ones, but you know, I have a perspective on it. But
another podcast.
But I just think that's just an unfortunate. I blame most of this on systemic racism, you know, and when we have another situation to get deeper into that, I peel that back for you too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jabo, he came to kick it with me. January 28th. I appreciate you, bro. Much love, man.
Much love, man. Rest easy, Lil G. I love you, nephew. We're going to keep your name alive, man, and we're going to love on your kids, man, until they become young men.
Mari Messiah.
That's my promise to you, nephew.
Love. Peace out. Daddy's
Love.
podcast.